My mother-in-law moved into the just no status a little over a year ago when my husband and I found we were expecting. She can be very loving and helpful, but then she'll use that as an excuse to boundary stomp and guilt trip. I've decided to no longer accept any sort of assistance from her because it always comes with strings attached. I gave birth to my son back in June. We did not allow hospital visitors, did not allow home visitors the first week, and do not allow kissing. All of this caused my mother-in-law to become hysterical. She accused us of trying to keep her from her grandson and wanting her out of our lives. She complained to anyone who would listen about how terrible it is that we are keeping our newborn from her for a week. Time passed, and now our baby is 7 months old. She got over the no visitors incident and has now decided she will not adhere to the no kissing rule, but only when my husband is not around. I have caught her kissing him multiple times, and each time I took my son back and firmly told her no. My husband and I talked about it and agreed that she is no longer allowed to hold our son until she proves herself to be respectful of our boundaries. We have significantly reduced contact with her, but my husband believes she's not bad enough to go full no contact with. Because her attitude shift is recent, he believes she'll grow out of it and become better. He is supportive of my decision to no longer try with her and assured me he will be the one handling her so that I don't have to deal with any of her crap. Yesterday, my mother-in-law called me. I ignored her call and told my husband. He said he would call her back in a minute, but she kept calling me, and I finally answered, put her on speakerphone, and she immediately started ranting about how she saw the pictures I posted on Instagram of my husband and me kissing our son's cheeks. She said it wasn't fair that we were allowed to kiss our baby, but she wasn't. I finally lost it on her. I said, fair? You think it's not fair that I am allowed to kiss my baby? Was it fair that I was hospitalized twice because my nausea was so severe it caused me to be dangerously dehydrated? Was it fair that I spent the last month of pregnancy with a fractured rib because of my baby? Was it fair that my husband became the sole provider because I wasn't able to work anymore? Was it fair that my husband was the only one to cook and clean because I physically could not get out of bed for longer than an hour or two at a time? Was it fair that my vagina had second-degree tearing? Was it fair that I couldn't piss or poop normally for weeks after I gave birth? Was it fair that my husband footed the bill for all my hospital visits, all the diapers, formula, wipes, clothing, and everything else our family needs? Is it fair that my husband and I are the only ones losing sleep every single night because our baby wakes up every hour? Is it fair that my husband goes to work every day and comes home and starts parenting without a break? Is it fair that I spend all day every day with a screaming baby while covered in his drool and spit up? Of course it's fair, because he is our baby. And that's exactly what we signed up for when we became parents. We endured every difficult part of parenthood so far, and we will enjoy all our parenting privileges too. So yes, my husband and I are going to kiss our baby because we made him. You do not have any parenting responsibilities or privileges with him because he is not your child. You had 4 children of your own. You had your turn. Stop trying to relive your glory days by putting your mouth on someone else's baby. And then I hung up. I am going to be honest and say that I had that speech planned. I knew one day she would see me kiss my little chunky baby and claim that I was unfair. So I knew what I was going to say when that time came. My poor husband has been dealing with the fallout of that phone call. He was there for the whole thing. He and his mom are going out for lunch this weekend, and he plans on having a serious talk with her. He's considering going no contact with her, but will decide based on how their conversation goes. Top comments. Somebody said, my mother-in-law is so similar to this. Guilting, undermining, manipulating, it was all so toxic. I hate to say it, but things got worse as the kids grew older and we added more babies to our family. My husband struggled with standing up to his mom and enforcing boundaries, and she had no problem taking advantage. I was left to set boundaries. Mother-in-law pegged me as a bad guy trying to ruin her fun. Husband was always trying to smooth things over with her. And the cycle of boundary stomping continued which eventually led to a lot of unhappiness and resentment in our marriage. Eventually, after 13 years of this, and almost divorcing, we went no contact with her. It was the very best thing we did, for our mental health, our marriage, and our children, because they're starting to be old enough to understand mother-in-law's behaviors. Not saying you need to go no contact, but you, and by you, I mostly mean her son, definitely need to make it clear her behavior won't be tolerated, and what will happen if she oversteps again. Somebody said, "There is a reason you don't kiss the baby. My grandmother kissed me when I was born. She had a cold sore. Now I have them too, but mine are much more active. I hate them. They burn and itch and scab and bleed. They look terrible. Have you ever gone to a job interview with a big scab on your lip? Thanks a lot, Grandma." Update. I'm just going to jump right into it. My husband had lunch with my mother-in-law yesterday. Before he went, we sat down and wrote down all the talking points we wanted to discuss, so he wouldn't forget any of them during lunch. It went as expected. She was upset I wasn't there to apologize to her. My husband said it was because I had nothing to apologize for. She tried to lecture him about how hypocritical I am when he cut her off and listed all the things she has done starting at my pregnancy up until now. She repeatedly touched my belly without permission after being told to stop. She tried to invite her friends, people we don't even know, to my baby shower. My parents hosted and paid for the entire thing. She threw a fit when we told her we were picking out his name and not accepting any recommendations. She threw a fit when she found out she wasn't allowed in the delivery room. She threw a fit when she found out we wouldn't allow hospital visitors. She even said, "I wouldn't go there to see me. I just want to see the baby. You can just bring the baby down to the lobby for me to see him." She threw a fit when we told her no visitors at home for a week. She threw a fit when she found out my mom was staying with us after helping us out. She threw a fit every time we said no to her taking our baby out alone on an outing. She threw a fit when we asked my Sil to babysit and not her when my husband and I went on a date. All hell broke loose when she found out we were going out of state to visit my family for Christmas instead of spending it with her. Then, of course, the kissing rule. My husband told her that the constant refusal to respect our boundaries as new parents was proof that all she cared about was maintaining control over her children and grandchildren. Unfortunately for her, he was raised to prioritize family above all else, and now my son and I are his family, so our needs come first. He informed her that we would be reducing our contact, so our son won't grow up thinking it's normal for adults to throw temper tantrums or weaponize relationships with family. He recommended that she go to therapy so she could understand her desire for complete control. He also reassured her that he loves her very much, but is not willing to let his wife and son suffer because she could feel good about herself. According to him, mother-in-law cried the whole time and kept trying to interrupt him. He would shut it down by telling her if she wanted to have any sort of relationship with her grandson, then she would need to be quiet and listen for once in her life. He told her that if she could prove herself to respect our decisions as parents, then we would happily spend more time with her. As soon as he returned from lunch, he broke down crying. He has never really stood up for himself in a meaningful way to his parents. I know this was a heavy conversation for him, but I am so proud of him for putting his foot down. I talked with my sister-in-law about the whole situation. She married my husband's brother. She said mother-in-law did the exact same thing when she had her 2 babies and warned me about it when we announced my pregnancy. My husband knew this behavior was going to happen, and we, along with our couples counselor, talked about how to navigate it. It's been radio silence from my mother-in-law, but it's also only been a day. We heard from brother-in-law and sister-in-law that she called them to complain and play the victim, but brother-in-law shut her down, saying she did the exact same thing when sister-in-law was pregnant, and we were absolutely right. For now, I guess my husband and I are just moving on. If she wants to reach out and apologize, then great, but we are not putting any effort into our relationship with her. My husband feels very confident that we made the right decision. For me, seeing him stand up for us and put our needs first was so attractive that it has me heavily considering next baby. This just happened today, and I'm using a throwaway because I promote my small business on my main and I want to be anonymous with this. Okay, I'm pretty overwhelmed, so I'll start with some background. I have been with my husband for 5 years. We've been married for 2. Since early on in the relationship, I've been great friends with his older brother, partially because I always wanted one. When he started dating a girl about 2 years ago, I went out of my way to make sure she knew she had a friend in me, if she wanted. Since we're the only girls in the family, we're great friends now, and since they got engaged 3 months ago, I have been helping with wedding planning and was asked to be a bridesmaid. We went dress shopping today and had a blast. We went to brunch, had some mimosas, found the dress, and went back to their house to celebrate. I ended up alone in the kitchen with my brother-in-law a bit after being there, and he said he just had to tell me something before it kept eating at him. I was a little buzzed and confused, but was not at all expecting him to say what he did. I think I've had feelings for you for a few years, and I've never been able to tell you, and just needed to know if you ever felt the same. I completely froze and just shook my head. I told him that no, I have never thought about him in any way other than a friend and a brother, and I never would. Before he said anything else, I bolted back to his fiancée and the other girls there, and very discreetly told her I got my period and wasn't feeling well, and would have someone come get me and then come by soon for more wedding planning. She thought nothing of it, and I called my best friend to come get me. She dropped me off at home. My husband is working right now, and there is no question that I'm going to tell him as soon as he gets home. But I just have no idea where to go from there. Do I tell his fiancée? Do I make him tell her? Do I leave it? Do I have my husband talk to him? Has anyone ever had something like this happen, or have any advice? Anything is appreciated. Update. Thanks to everyone who helped calm my panicked mind after my original post. I didn't want to tell my husband we need to talk while he was still at work and make him panic, so having some reassurance from here was really helpful. I also noticed a lot of people asking for an update, so here is one that even I was shocked by as I lived it. It's not exactly the earth-shattering blow-up most people thought it would be. My husband came home and he immediately knew I had something on my mind. I explained the whole thing and he was livid at his brother. Thankfully, he gave me a hug and I broke down crying from the stress. He assured me I did everything right and it wasn't my fault. After that, he went to call his brother and tell him that he knew what happened and wanted to talk to him one-on-one. Well, it turns out that his brother and fiancé were already on their way to our house to talk about it. As soon as the other girls left, not long after me, my brother-in-law confessed everything to her. First, she slapped him, deservedly. But after they talked and he promised her that his feelings for her were genuine, she said that he needed to apologize to me and his brother, and then they could go from there. So they came over and he and my husband went and talked while I talked with his fiancé. We both cried and talked for about an hour. I promised her I never had any feelings for him and had no idea he ever had any for me. Apparently, she had caught him gazing at me on a family vacation once and thought maybe he had some attraction to me. So while this sucked, she felt some relief that she wasn't crazy for thinking it. He admitted she was right and thinks his feelings at one point were out of jealousy that his younger brother was further in life than him, and he attributed that to me in a way. This was new to him as the older brother, and they really hadn't compared each other much growing up, just because they had vastly different paths. It was little apples to oranges. But now there was some perceived competition on a similar playing field. The feelings had faded, but when she came home saying she found a dress, he felt an urge to come clean, and he wished he had said it differently or worked through it with some help to actually understand what the feelings were before making this whole mess. I don't know about all that, but I guess I could understand it with a more clear head. I mean, if the Oedipus complex can be a thing, then I can see him having some complex feelings that manifested as attraction, but didn't affect his love for his fiancée. This all happened in one night, and he was visibly distressed over it. So I'd find it hard to believe he could weave a whole story like that. so I'm inclined to believe him. Once my husband and his brother came back to the living room, my brother-in-law looked like a puppy who just got in trouble. Also, looked a little roughed up, but I didn't question it. We all talked, and he apologized to me for putting me in this position. Where it landed, their wedding is on hold privately while they figure out next steps. Thankfully, there was nothing booked and no dates sent out. We had gone wedding dress shopping just to get an idea, and it was just luck that she fell in love with the dress. They are going to go to couples therapy to decide if and how they can move past this. There is clear love between the two. Things will be tense, but I think he feels genuine remorse, and my potential sister-in-law says she holds no ill will against me, and if they move forward, she'd still love to have me as a bridesmaid if I'm willing. My husband and his brother have some serious work to do on their relationship, and my friendship with my brother-in-law will never be the same again, but we'll see what happens from here. We've also agreed to keep this between the four of us. But they will be honest that they're doing some premarital counseling before setting dates or full-on planning. I saw a lot of comments telling me to keep my mouth shut and no harm was done. While I guess I can see your point, I just couldn't imagine keeping something like this from my husband. Especially if it came out later and he found out I withheld it. Trust is huge in our partnership, and even just omission feels like a betrayal of that. Sure, I knew this could blow up if I let it out, but it would be my brother-in-law's fault, not mine. He had all control over telling me what he did. Thanks to everyone who helped me through that scary processing time alone. Update. I wanted to address a couple common responses I've been seeing here and give another next day update. To everyone telling me to not tell anyone, or give him a mulligan, that was never an option to me. My husband and I are a team, and we don't keep secrets, only surprises. It's something we agreed on before getting married. If I didn't tell him and it came out later, it's as good as me lying to his face. I did nothing wrong, and I know my husband would stand by me, so that just wasn't an option I was willing to consider. To all the claims that I'd be blowing up multiple families, I'm not the one who confessed feelings. He opened this can of worms, and it's not my responsibility to keep this secret. If this does blow up his relationship or his family, that's all on him, not me. There were a lot of other common themes in here, but those two were very prevalent, and I wanted to dispel them. So for this small update, my husband actually called his brother today and asked if he wanted to go to one of their favorite bars to watch the game together today, something pretty common for them or all four of us to do before all this. My brother-in-law was shocked, but agreed. Shortly after, his fiancée called me and asked if she could come over while they were gone. She was honest and said it might be awkward, but we would do this a lot and either do some DIY together, get a puzzle out, or watch movies together. She wanted to see if I'd be open to keeping this up as long as we were both comfortable with it while they work their things out so our relationship doesn't deteriorate. It meant the world to me, and I said of course. All four of us agreed that they, brother-in-law and fiancé, would start seeing a couples therapist ASAP, and my brother-in-law would see one on his own. Until they get a better grasp on what his feelings are, and their own plan, we won't get all four of us together, and Bill and I will not be alone together. My potential sister-in-law is one of the most level-headed people I've ever met, and so kind-hearted. My brother-in-law used to have a lot of walls up that she broke down pretty naturally, and this is so out of character for him. His proposal to her was so well-planned and thoughtful and tailored to her down to the smallest detail. He picked her a new outfit, had the perfect ring, even the blanket at the setting was her favorite color, a detail he did intentionally, and he had even arranged to have her parents there, who live hours away. It's clear that he loves her, and I truly don't think that even if I did say yes, he would not leave her to be with me. Not that it would have been an option. I truly see a road forward for them and all of us. We're all committed to finding the best outcome for everyone involved. My marriage is solid, and we have our marriage maintenance couples therapy appointment coming up soon anyway, so we'll check in with an outside opinion, but I'm not worried. They are going to consult with a therapist at the same practice in just a couple days. It obviously won't be a quick and smooth fix, as this was screwed up, but I'm much more optimistic than many comments here and wanted to share. Relevant comments. Somebody said, future sister-in-law is pathetic for staying with that man. All I'm going to say. Original poster replied, I don't think it's pathetic to give something, even a screwed up situation, a little extra time to decide on going forward. The way she is looking at it is that she can leave, and nobody would blame her, and she wouldn't blame herself, but she loves him, and for herself, she wants to take a beat to more deeply understand the situation before she makes a decision to stay or leave. She was planning a future for him, and if she just leaves immediately, she will have a lot of inner turmoil to work through, and what-ifs. If she takes a few therapy sessions and decides to leave, she would feel more confident in her decision. That's her choice to make. You may think it's pathetic, but it's what she decided was best for her. Somebody said, this story is kind of anticlimactic. Couldn't you add in a tiger or a sword fight? Original poster replied, here's a little more of a climax. Turns out she had a physical attraction / little crush on a coworker at one point, like 8 months into their relationship, which is why she had a little more sympathy and was willing to try to work on it. She said it can happen and not change that she loves him. Maybe the coworker was like a spy or something to add some drama? Kidding, but there was that slight development